Christine sat on the dock at golden hour, a manila folder heavy in her lap. Her phone vibrated, the screen lighting up with one word: Mark.
Not now, Mark. Not ever again.
Inside the folder, she already knew what her father had done. The deed was hers. The letter still creased from his hands. But to understand how she got here, you have to go back years to a brother who never stopped bragging about what he'd inherit.
The lake house is obviously mine. Firstborn son, that's how it works. Once it's mine, I'll finally fix the place up my way, maybe put in a hot tub.
Meanwhile, the daughter who actually maintained the place, who rebuilt the dock with their father, stayed quiet. Year after year, Mark claimed the lake house as his birthright. Year after year, Christine fixed what he broke. Their father watched, and he made a different kind of plan. The folder slid across the table didn't come out of nowhere. It was the finish line of a race Mark never knew he was losing. Years before that folder existed, Christine stood on the porch with a screwdriver in her hand.
Dad taught her that when she was little, fix the small things first.
Before she could finish, a car engine roared up the gravel drive. Mark spilled out with 3 friends, hauling a cooler, laughter bouncing off the pines.
This dump will be mine someday. Firstborn privilege. I'll knock down walls and put in a hot tub.
The same old boast, met with the same old laughs from his friends.
He believes it. He's never touched a hammer in his life.
They stormed inside, tracking pine needles across her clean porch.
Hey, Christine, take a break. This place won't fall apart if you stop for 5 minutes.
She didn't answer. She drove the last screw into place and wiped the sweat from her eyes. Years passed. Mark's parties grew louder, and the small damages started adding up. One autumn morning, Christine walked down to the dock and stopped cold. A plank had cracked under the weight of Mark's carelessness.
He left the boat untied again. The bumper rubbed right through the wood.
She was already prying up the broken board when her father's truck pulled into the drive. Robert walked out and stood beside her. He looked at the splintered wood and said nothing for a long moment. Then Mark strolled down from the house, coffee in hand, and saw them staring at the damage.
Relax, Dad. When the place is mine, I'll fix it, right? Maybe a composite deck, no more rot.
Robert's jaw tightened. He didn't answer. He just looked at Christine and gave her a small nod. Christine pulled out a fresh plank and knelt in the sawdust. She worked until the dock was solid again. Mark's promise faded with the afternoon. Only the labor that actually happened mattered. The summer before that dock snapped, Robert had spent a week teaching Christine to rebuild it from scratch.
Press here with your thumb. If it gives, it's done. Replace it before it takes the whole section. Your brother thinks you can ignore rot. He's wrong.
They worked until the afternoon sun cut gold across the lake. When the last nail was in, Robert sat down heavily on the new planks and gestured for Christine to join him.
This place isn't about who was born first. It's about who shows up.
He was talking about more than the dock. Somewhere deep down, she felt it.
Remember that.
She nodded, filing the words away in a place she wouldn't fully understand until years later. But right then, with sawdust on her jeans and her father's shoulder warm against hers, it just felt right. The summer they rebuilt the dock felt like a hinge. By the following spring, Robert rarely made it down to the water. Christine started driving up every weekend, not to fix screens, but to manage medications. Mark visited once that month, breezing in with a real estate flyer in his pocket.
Dad, you know what lakefront property is going for these days? You are sitting on a gold mine.
This house isn't about the money, Mark. It never was.
Everything is about money, Dad. You just don't want to admit it.
The visit lasted 20 minutes. Mark left a stack of business cards on the kitchen counter. Alone, Robert shuffled to his desk, pulled out a sheet of paper, and began to write. He wrote slowly, as if every word had to last. The letter grew longer each night. Hidden in the drawer Christine would later open with a key she didn't yet know mattered. Within a month, Robert lay in a hospital bed, the lake house silent under autumn rain. Christine rarely left his side.
I am here, Dad. I am not going anywhere.
When the time comes, you'll know what to do. I've made sure.
Know what, Dad? What did you do?
He only patted her hand, his eyes already drifting shut again. The door swung open. Mark strode in, phone to his ear, tie loosened.
Dad, the lawyer needs a list of assets. The estate won't settle itself. Did you sign those papers I sent?
Robert turned his face to the window, his jaw working silently.
He's not even listening. Christine, you talk to him. The lake house can't just sit there.
Christine didn't answer. She watched her father's hand tighten on the blanket, and she knew he had already done something none of them understood yet. The funeral was small. A gray sky pressed against the chapel windows, and folding chairs sank into damp grass.
The lake house is obviously mine, Linda. Firstborn, I am finally going to give it the renovation it deserves.
Well, you've been waiting long enough. Your dad would want you to have it, I am sure.
She had spent every summer of her life in that house, and he spoke of it like a timeshare.
She left before the reception ended and drove to her father's house in town, needing to pack the quiet things. In his study, she stopped in front of the old mahogany desk. The bottom drawer had a brass lock she'd never seen open.
That drawer was always locked. Dad kept the things that mattered inside.
She tried the handle, locked tight. A small key existed somewhere. Robert had given it to her years ago, but she'd forgotten about it until now. She left the drawer untouched, but something cold and certain shifted in her chest. The answer was behind that lock. That night, in her own small house, Christine remembered the brass key her father had given her years before. She had dropped it in her jewelry box and never used it. She found it beneath a tangle of old chains, a small key, simple as a promise. She drove back to her father's study, pushed the key into the lock, and turned. The drawer slid open without a sound. Inside lay a single cream envelope, her name written across it in Robert's steady hand. She opened it with trembling fingers and began to read. Christine, the lake house is yours. I've already arranged it. You are the one who loved it, who showed up. Don't let Mark bully you. Contact William Granger.
He arranged it. How? The will hasn't even been read.
She read the name again. William Granger. She had never heard her father mention it. The letter gave her no deed, no legal details, just a command and a name. But it was enough. She locked the drawer behind her, the key now warm in her pocket. Whatever her father had done, she would see it through. The next morning, Christine called the number on the business card. An assistant patched her through to William Granger himself.
Mr. Granger, my name is Christine Vance. My father, Robert Vance, left me a letter. He said you could explain everything.
2 days later, she sat in a quiet office, walls lined with law books, a mahogany desk between them.
Your father was a careful man, Miss Vance. 2 years ago, he executed a transfer on death deed for the lake house. It names you as the sole beneficiary. The property passes to you outside of probate the moment he died.
Outside of probate. Mark doesn't even know it exists.
William opened a folder but kept it facing his own chest, not yet ready to show the deed inside.
I am instructed to present this formally at the reading of the will, not before. It must be part of the official record. In the meantime, I suggest you tell no one, especially not your brother.
Christine nodded, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The secret would burn inside her for weeks. A week after her meeting with William, Mark called a realtor. The next morning, a for sale sign appeared at the lake house gate. Christine's tires crunched on the gravel, and there it was, the sign, sharp and white against the pines.
He already listed it, before the will is even read.
Mark stood on the porch, arms crossed, as if he already owned it.
Christine, relax. You'll get your share. Dad would have wanted us both to profit from this place.
I don't think so, Mark.
What's that supposed to mean? You've been acting strange since the funeral.
Christine said nothing. She walked past him into the house, her heart slamming against her ribs.
Just hold on a little longer. You know what's coming. He doesn't.
Outside, the for sale sign swayed in the breeze. Mark had no idea how little time his illusion had left. The day after the sign went up, a contractor's van pulled into the drive at dawn. She walked into the kitchen and froze. Two men were prying her father's cabinets off the walls.
Stop. Those cabinets. My father built them with his own hands.
The foreman held up a work order with Mark's signature. She snatched her phone and dialed William.
I'll fax a cease and desist to the contractor and send a copy to your brother.
Within hours, the letter reached Mark.
You sicked a lawyer on me? Over some cabinets that were rotting anyway?
You gave me no choice. You can't just demolish what Dad built.
It's as good as mine. You'll regret this.
Christine hung up and sat in the silence. The legal war was open, but the weapon she hadn't yet used was the one that mattered most. The week that followed was the quietest Christine had ever known. Mark's threats echoed, but what came next cut deeper.
Christine, it's Linda. Mark says, you are being difficult. Just let him have the house. It's not worth a family feud.
Linda, you don't understand. He's tearing apart what Dad built. This isn't about pride.
Maybe he's just eager to make it his own. The lake house was always going to be his. That's what everyone assumed.
Assumed isn't the same as right. I have to go.
She hung up and sat still, the room growing darker around her. She needed to be where her father's voice still lived. She drove to the lake house in the last of the light.
He trusted me with this. Not because I was easy, but because I showed up. I won't let him take this. Not Mark, not anyone. Dad made his choice. I just have to hold on.
The sun dropped below the pines, and for the first time in weeks, Christine felt something close to peace. The county probate court seal stared up at her. Mark had filed a formal petition for ownership of the lake house, citing family tradition.
Mr. Granger, Mark's petitioning the court. He's claiming the house based on tradition, says it was always his birthright.
That argument holds no water against a properly executed transfer on death deed. Calm down. I am going to advance the will reading. We'll settle this once and for all, with everyone in the room.
The reading was set for Thursday, 10 o'clock sharp. The family would gather in William's conference room.
This is just a formality. The judge will see reason. Family tradition is stronger than some dusty paperwork.
He has no idea the deed exists. He's walking into a trap of his own making.
William slid a manila folder into his briefcase. The document inside had waited 2 years for this room. Across town, Mark met with his own attorney, laying out the petition with a map of the property. Neither man knew that a different document, already recorded at the county clerk's office, made the petition moot. The afternoon before the will reading, Christine stood in her kitchen, trying to eat a sandwich that tasted like cardboard. A car horn blared outside. Mark leaned out the driver's window, his expression already set in that smug negotiation look she'd known for decades.
Just sign the quitclaim, Christine. We'll split the proceeds 50-50. Don't make this uglier than it has to be.
No, Mark. Dad made his choice. You just don't know what that is yet.
Then you'll lose everything. The judge will laugh your little claim out of court. You'll be left with nothing.
I'll take that chance.
He spat on the ground, gunned the engine, and peeled away, leaving the smell of exhaust behind. Christine walked inside, her hands trembling, but her voice had been steady. She locked the door and leaned against it. The folder she'd seen in William's office now lived in her mind, a small, heavy promise. Tomorrow, the secret would finally walk into the light. Thursday morning, the family filled William Granger's conference room. Mark leaned back in his chair with arms folded, a grin fixed in place. Linda sat to his left, glancing at Christine with a tight smile. Christine's hands rested flat on the wood.
The last will and testament of Robert Vance. To my cousins and friends, I leave small remembrances, a watch, a library, a modest cash gift. To my son Mark, I leave $25,000 to be paid from the estate.
Mark's grin vanished. $25,000. a fraction of what he'd expected. William paused, then said, "As for the lake house property," he reached into his briefcase and withdrew a single manila folder.
This document was executed separately, outside this will. It has been recorded at the county. I am instructed to deliver it directly.
He slid the folder across the polished wood, directly to Christine. The sound of paper against the table was the only noise in the room. Christine caught her breath. Her fingers brushed the cover. She knew the weight of it. Mark stared, his mouth opening but no sound coming out. The room held its breath, every pair of eyes fixed on that unassuming cream folder. With steady hands, Christine opened the folder. The top document was a transfer on death deed, her name printed beneath her father's. Beneath it lay a handwritten letter, the paper creased and soft from being folded and unfolded many times.
Christine, you are the one who loved this house. I watched you patch the roof, mend the dock, and never ask for anything. The house is already yours. It passed to you the moment I died. I made sure Mark couldn't touch it.
The deed was dated 2 years prior, signed, notarized, and recorded at the county. It bypassed the will entirely.
That's fake. He never would have cut me out. You manipulated him, Christine.
Mr. Vance, sit down. This deed was executed before witnesses and recorded. It is legally airtight.
Mark's hand shook. He reached for the folder, but William's hand intercepted it, sliding it safely back toward Christine. Christine looked down at her father's handwriting, her tears finally spilling over, but her voice was steady.
He watched. Mark. He watched who showed up, and he chose.
This deed is irrevocable. It bypasses probate entirely. The lake house has been Christine's property since the moment your father passed.
Mark's face drained of color. The legal truth settled into the room like cold water.
You schemed behind my back. You knew about this for weeks and said nothing.
No, Mark. I just showed up every time. Dad watched, and he chose.
He shoved his chair back, the legs screeching. Then he was gone, the door swinging shut behind him. Linda rose quietly and placed her hand on Christine's shoulder. Neither of them spoke.
It was over. Not the way she'd wanted, but the way Dad had planned.
The will reading is concluded. I will file the necessary documents this afternoon.
Christine held the folder against her chest, the weight of it both heavy and light. She didn't look at the empty chair. The room felt hollow without his shouting. But the truth, kept secret for 2 years, was finally free. Alone in the conference room, Christine unfolded her father's letter once more. She traced the familiar handwriting. Every word, now more real than it had ever been. By the time she pulled up to the lake house, the light was fading to gold. She didn't go inside. She walked straight down to the dock. She sat on the weathered planks, the deed and letter in her lap. The tears she'd held back all those weeks finally fell. She held the letter against her heart, right over the place where her father's trust had lived all along. The dock she rebuilt with her own hands still held. A loon called across the water. The lake didn't care about wills or deeds. It just lapped against the same old pilings. The fight had cost her a brother, but it had given her what her father always intended, a home. In the days after the reading, Mark hired a second lawyer, then a third. The transfer on death deed was airtight. They all said.
He couldn't believe it. Firstborn meant nothing?
Christine heard the news through Linda, how Mark had reluctantly stopped fighting, though his pride would never admit it.
She felt a pang of sadness, but not regret. The house was hers to love now.
The lake house settled around her. No longer a battleground, but a quiet promise kept. She filled the rooms with small repairs, the quiet work her father had taught her. She didn't call Mark. Some wounds needed more time than a deed could heal, but every morning she walked the dock and felt the solid planks beneath her feet. Her father's choice had weight, and it held. The deed remained locked in the desk, next to the letter that explained everything. As leaves turned, Christine spread invitation cards across the kitchen table. The lake house would host Thanksgiving. A few days later, an RSVP card came back with a single harsh word, number, but the phone rang 2 nights later. It was Mark, his voice clipped.
Fine. One dinner. Don't make it into something it isn't.
The day arrived cold and bright. The lake house glowed with candles and the smell of roasting turkey. Family filled the rooms, laughter echoing where anger had once lived. Mark walked in last, quiet, holding a bottle of wine like a shield.
This used to be Dad's favorite. I thought it might be right.
Well, come in. Come in. We won't bite.
Christine took the wine, and for a moment, they stood in the same doorway their father had built. After the last plate was cleared and the fire burned low, Christine slipped out into the cold twilight. A lone figure stood at the end of the dock, motionless. She walked down the familiar planks, her breath clouding. He didn't turn, but the set of his shoulders was different tonight.
I didn't know you two rebuilt this, the whole dock.
We did. That was the summer. Dad taught me to check for rot before it spreads.
He tried to teach me that once. I didn't listen.
A long stillness settled between them. Then, barely audible,
I'm sorry.
Christine didn't answer. She rested her hand on his arm. Just for a breath, they stood without speaking as the first stars appeared over the darkening lake, the water lapping quietly against the pilings. The dock Christine rebuilt with her father still holds, and the silence between them held something new. Not forgiveness yet, but the shape of it. Late in the night, the house quiet, Christine walked back down to the dock alone, her footsteps muffled. She stood on the planks her father had taught her to replace and looked up at the scattered stars.
He'd see the dock still holding and be proud.
From her pocket, she pulled the folded deed, the paper warm from her body. She didn't need to read it. She knew every word her father had written. The planks beneath her feet were the very ones she had nailed beside him, and they hadn't budged. The dock Christine rebuilt with her father still stands. So does the promise she made. She smiled, tucked the deed back into her pocket, and watched the first light of dawn touch the lake. The lake house had weathered a storm and come out stronger, and so had she. The sun climbed over the pines, and the water turned gold. A new day.